Hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. When you know better, you get better. And surely that's exactly what we're going to try to do here today. It is Monday, June 1st, 2020. We are halfway almost through this really not fun year. Today, we have a very full show for you. We decided to go live every day during the pandemic crisis. And now a new crisis has arrived, and we are going to continue on, and we are going to try to learn and grow and get better and try to be helpful in this very sad situation. So today, I have invited a few of my friends to join me and help me make sense of everything and figure it all out. We have attorney and TV commentator Eboni K. Williams. She's going to be co-hosting with me today. We also tracked down the owners of the Bangladeshi restaurant that was burned down in Minneapolis, and they had a very beautiful take and a beautiful reaction to that. We're going to be chatting with Ruhel Islam's daughter, Hafsa. We're also going to be talking with another friend, WWE Champion, Titus O'Neill. We'll first start with our quote of the day. In fact, I pulled another one, so we've got a couple. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. That's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I also happened to be checking out a little story on the internet just before we started, and President Obama came out and said, let's not excuse violence or rationalize it or participate in it. If we want our criminal justice system and American society at large to operate on a higher ethical code, then we have to model that code ourselves. He went on to say a few other really great things as well, but we'll leave it right there. Thank you guys for joining us as always. Oh man, it has been a heavy, heavy time. Eboni, thank you so much for joining me today. And, before we started, I greeted you with a great smile because Steven turned the beat around in here and made me laugh. But I have spent days crying and crying. So
Yeah,
I can only imagine how you're feeling.
Well, Maria, this is really indescribable, right? This has been my life's work. You've known me for years. I've looked up to you and Kevin and everything you guys have built for years. But you know my story, and you know that I left practicing law, doing exactly this type of work, right? Bringing justice to communities of people that look just like me. And I left that work in the courtroom to do this work as a broadcaster, right? Because we as broadcasters know the power that we have of platform.
Mm-hmm.
So to spend my career, and I've been doing it in a broadcast capacity for 8 years now, and did it as a criminal defense lawyer for about 7 before that. This moment, Maria, is, you talk about a woman meeting a moment. So for me, this feels heavy. I feel resentful. I feel angry. I feel heartbroken. But mostly I still feel enormously committed to this work. And that is why I am joining you today. And I've got a full slate all day, as you might imagine, because sadly, it has taken the death of now George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and many, many others to bring about what I am calling a reckoning of race consciousness in our country, and one that we've needed for a very, very, very long time, Maria. We've had sprinkles of opportunities here and there. I think we've lived enough to have seen a few of them, right? We saw it with the Rodney King beatings and the riots that took place in 92. We saw it with the verdict with OJ in 95. We saw it a bit in Katrina, right? The wake of Hurricane Katrina, the fortunate way in which Black life seemed to be disregarded by the American government.
Yep.
In 2005. And I saw it firsthand, Maria. I was a law student down there in New Orleans. So I was in those flood waters, and
great point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, baby. Oh yeah, Maria. This is not new for us as a country. It might feel new to some of our younger viewers and younger friends among us, but for those of us of a particular age, we've been feeling this. But now it seems in which we've come about this this impetus where what has been will not sustain.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we know. When you're looking around and you're seeing the country burn to the ground, it is an objective, optical point of clarity. And I don't say it to glorify it, Maria. I just say it because it's the truth. You can't look away from it because it's right there in our faces. This, as we've been doing it, this dismal coexistence of Black and white, that by social construct, Maria, race is a social construct and racism is a social construct, right? And whether we say it or we don't say it, what I can tell you has been my experience, Maria, as a Black woman in this country for almost 37 years now. You know, and I did everything right, Maria? I went to school, I went to more school, I practiced law, I volunteer in my community. I'm a part of the most elite sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, belonging to Kamala Harris and Coretta Scott King and Rosa Parks, right? I have demonstrated the life that I was promised would make me immune to second-class citizenship in this country. And you know what, Maria? That's been a lie. That's been a lie, right? And so now that we recognize there is no way to circumvent this devastating dynamic of Black subordination, this expectation, and I think we really saw this, Maria, last week. You know, I'm living in New York now with the woman in Central Park, Amy Cooper. I'm sure you've seen it and talked about it here on the show. It was such a glaring display of the expectation of Black subordination. And once again, you know, Christian Cooper, the man that was at the center of that with that woman, Harvard educated, you know, foot soldier of humanity. And when the shit hit the fan, Maria, the expectation was, Black man, stay in your place. Yeah. You don't have the social positioning to critique anything I do and how I show up in this space. And if you get out of line with that, I will violently enforce your positioning by calling New York Police Department, because I know how they will show up and deal with you because of the track record of police brutality against Black men in this country. I mean, if we don't have a clearer picture than that, I don't know what to tell you. So how am I doing? I'm motivated to do this work, Maria. I applaud you and those like you that are using their platforms in this moment. But frankly, this is white people work. I want to be clear about that. This is white people work. This system, these dynamics I'm kind of breaking down in minutia, these are systems that have been in place in this country since its origin, right? And despite our best efforts, Black folk cannot unpin them. You know, we've done sit-ins, we've done protests. Colin Kaepernick has knelt. It just doesn't really work. So I think I'm not going to sit up here and spend time debating the merits of the protests versus the looting versus the rioting, because as I've said already this week and weekend, I think that's a distracting point for me personally, Maria, and I respect those that do need to spend some time with it. I'm just focused on the work, and I remain committed and focused on the work. And I do think it's possible, but it's going to take white America giving something up. I'm going to be honest about that. They're going to have to give up a way of life that quietly demands Black subordination. And whether or not white America is prepared for that is not something I can answer. But I'm really happy to engage in that dialogue with you today.
How does that look and how does that happen? Because I sit back and I'm watching everything happening and I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for what happened to George Floyd. I'm heartbroken for what happened to Trayvon Martin, what happened to everybody before George Floyd. There were a million Georges, right? I'm heartbroken over what happened at Hurricane Katrina. I'm heartbroken over, you know, everything. You know, you're seeing Black-owned businesses looted and people who were, you know, whose businesses were on life support that are now completely decimated. You're seeing, you know, I mean, we're seeing so much. And I feel like a Mack truck is sitting on my chest and I don't know what to do. And I'm a problem solver, right? So I'm like, how do I fix this? This is how I felt when coronavirus started, right? Coronavirus started and I was like, okay, we need to be on the show. We need to be doing this daily. I took the show to daily. We need to be with everybody, and we need to be talking and helping each other through. And we're going to do the same thing through this. But I was at a loss for that. I'm at a loss now, other than to speak up for my friends and tell them I'm with them, I hear them, I love them, I support them. You included, obviously, being one of my friends in Titus. I just don't know how this gets fixed.
That's authentic, Maria. So a couple things I want to say to that. And, I'm not the gospel here. I'm just one Black woman trying to do some work here. That's important. That's the first thing. If you are a white person right now in this country and you don't know what to say, first of all, I want to say this, Maria, there's no magic words. There are no magic words in a moment like this. So take that pressure off of yourselves as good white folk. You don't have to get this right rhetorically. I want to be clear about that. There is no script here. Doesn't exist. The best thing you can do is show up with an open heart and an open mind and a sincere willingness to do this work. So you have to accept the premise that this is white work to do, which is hard. I want to be clear about that, Maria, because I don't think human nature dictates a comfort level when we have to take on onus, right? Now we've got to carry something. And I think for once in our country's history, Black America is telling white people, go do your shit. Go do your work. We have carried the onus of fixing race relations in this country since its inception. And frankly, we've taken that as far as it can go. Black people have kind of done what we can do. So the other part of the solution, Maria, the other part of the equation that's got to show, it's kind of like in a relationship, right? You're in a marriage and you're one half of that relationship, right? And you do your work. And you read the books and you work on the way you show up in the relationship and you work on your communication and you do all these things. But guess what? You by yourself you can't save the marriage by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Your partner has to show up with that same willing spirit and do their work. Well, that's exactly what's going on with white and Black America today. And I'm using those terms because, of course, we know there's a beautiful coalition of people of color that are within that. But ultimately, we've got to be honest about where this issue really sits and where it really falls. And this goes back to the genesis of the coexistence of white and Black people in this country. So that's the first thing you can do as a white person is reach out to say, I don't know what to say, if that's your truth, right? And I've been getting those messages and those phone calls all weekend, and it's given me the fuel to keep going. So do that. The other thing, and we share this, we share quite a few things in common, Maria, but we're both very solution-focused women, right? Like you said, like we see a problem and after our heart starts breaking, we're ready to do something about it. I don't have the magic answers either, but this is one thing I've come up with. I'm creating a mini criteria of what I'm calling white people homework, okay? And in this it's going to be real simple. It can all be done from the comfort of your home because many people across the country are still in quarantine like myself. And it's just going to be 2 tiers. It's going to be tier 1, basic education. Watch these Netflix docs, watch these Amazon Prime docs, read these articles that are no more than 1,200 words to just familiarize yourself with some of these basic concepts that I'm talking about here today. These racial constructions, these expectations of moral code in which we show up in society. Then it'll be like level 2, like advanced coursework, right? Like you done step 1, do step 2. And I think just sitting and educating yourself, Maria, and sitting in the pain, I think that's really hard for people to do too. Human nature dictates we struggle sitting in one another's pain. Sit in the pain with your Black brothers and sisters today. And I'm not going to say that white folk aren't sitting in some pain of their own. I could imagine that you are, and that the white community is having its own kind of reckoning with its own self and having internal conversations with one another about how we got here and how are we prepared to move forward. And that can be scary, right? Like you said, like what does that look like? All I can tell you is that in certain pockets of the Black community, Maria, this has gotten so unconscionable, so intolerable, that there's real conversations about perhaps we need to look at an existence outside of this country, that allows for our full citizenship, that allows for our full and complete and unadulterated safety. Not dissimilar, and that sounds radical, and I'm sure it does to many people. It's not so radical in the sense that post-emancipation, we had what we call the Great Migration, right? Where you saw Black people that were coming from the South, coming from enslavement, say this code of law sucks. So we're going to go up north, right? Or we're going to venture west to see if that way of life can afford us a better existence. Okay, so that's kind of magnified itself now. And so now what we see is a nation that doesn't offer any real safe place, any real safe space for full Black existence.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't leave us a lot of option other than to come to our white sisters and brothers and say, are you willing in good faith to renegotiate the terms of my existence in this country? Are you?
Wow.
Are you willing? And by doing so, are you willing to give up your station in it? Because that is what it requires, Maria. That is what it requires. And that is deep and that's heavy.
Yeah. I mean, and it makes a lot of sense. It really does. Eboni, we have Hafsa on the line, and I want to make sure we don't miss the opportunity to have a quick chat with her before we lose her. So, and we'll continue our chat on afterwards with Titus as well. So last week, restaurant owner Ruhel Islam had converted his Minneapolis restaurant, Gandhi Mahal, into a refuge for protesters seeking shelter from the police's mace and tear gas and rubber bullets. Early Thursday morning, they learned their restaurant had burned down as protesters took to the streets over the arrest and, of course, the killing of over the arrest and the killing of George Floyd. As a response, Hafsa, Ruhel's daughter, who's also joining, wrote, "Don't worry about us. We will rebuild and we will recover." Now, this response moved so many people, and it really moved me. And that's why I wanted to invite them on the show today. Don't worry about us. We will rebuild and we will recover. As I'm sitting next to my dad watching the news, I hear him say on the phone, "Let my building burn. Justice needs to be served. Put those officers in jail." Gandhi Mahal may have felt the flames last night, but our fiery drive to help protect and stand with our community will never die. Ladies and gentlemen, Hafsa and Ruhel Islam. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining us. We're joined by my friend Eboni, who is on the line as well. Thank you guys. You immigrated to this country from Bangladesh in 1996. You opened your restaurant with a hope to bring South Minneapolis's community together, saying we'll bring peace by pleasing your palate. I thought that was really beautiful. And, you were there trying to help all of these protesters. Tell me what that was like to see your restaurant burn down, and where did you find the strength to respond in that way?
It was shock, but I come down myself thinking about these officers who are so irresponsible with their actions. Then none of this would occur. Thinking like a justice. I was thinking like justice needs to be served. We can rebuild restaurant, but we cannot, give the life back to our brothers, to his family. One of the things, like I'm just all the time we're giving all the interviews, like people, not often, but just when what's pain me, like asking, oh, what are you going to do next? How are you going to rebuild? But this is a very important movement, very important moment for us, for get the justice, the mission, all the sacrifice happen, all this happen. We should not let any more of this happen. We are traumatized. Our family is traumatized. We work, build this place with love, bringing culture as last 12 years. we build a fully fed community and continuously building, continuously doing the right thing to do. Then also like whatever happened, I feel like this is not our community. This is a obviously it's some kind of mechanism. Probably I don't know. Sometimes it scares. But as a Bangladeshi guy, I witnessed part of like when I was my daughter age, 18, 17, 18, we fight against autocratic government, and I see how police state look like. They killed one of our friends who was leading. Then he sacrificed his life. But what happened within a couple of days, big revelation happened, then change happened. Then I seen our political allied, freedom fighter, patriotic people came together, and they create a caretaker government that gives us hope, so that somebody can trust neutral people. Then there was the election, people won. But of course, there's a third world and a lot of other problems we are facing. Just giving an example how traumatized I was. I seen this. I said we cannot let 9 years to do this. We have to do it right now. This is what I was reflecting right away. Uh, but this is all part of the life. We have to work hard, work together to make world a better place. It is about that time now. Take it to very good action.
Wow. Hafsa, what was it like hearing your dad say what he said and having that stance on this? Were you surprised?
I mean, just how my dad is in general, I guess I wasn't surprised with what he said, but when I did hear about the restaurant going down in flames, it was like 6 in the morning on Friday, and a former employee had called us in tears and telling me that the building had, faced some severe damages. And I came upstairs angry because this was like everything that my dad had worked for, our only source of income. And I sat there and watched the news with him while he was taking calls from family and friends. And at one point he was on the phone with one of his friends, and that's when he said that line, and it completely like brought calm to me, because I was like, for a second there I lost touch with what we're here to do. And I remembered, this isn't about our business. This is not about the building burning. This is about bringing justice to such a system that is so unjust, and we're here to fight for not only George Floyd's death, but many of our brothers and sisters who have been taken from us wrongfully. It's about time that we see change in the system. And, yes, there's a lot of chaos and whatnot going on, but it really took this much to finally have something happen. Like, never in history has a cop been charged and arrested over something like this. And it's incredible to see what people coming together can do. And this is exactly what's happening. This is history in the making.
I have to ask, Hafsa, before this, you guys had to have been affected by the coronavirus as well, financially and economically with the restaurants. So where were you guys at before this, just to give people perspective?
Sure. While COVID was going on, obviously we were scared that things would change and fluctuate with the restaurant and how business was doing, but we stayed hopeful, and we'd hope that the community that we have been here for would also be here for us during this pandemic. And we were just pushing and trying to make do as we went. And we did have to let go of a few employees, but we were able to keep a good amount of our employees and keep a lot of us working, which was our main goal, to make sure that we kept supporting the families that we support.
And now what happens, guys? I mean, you're going to be studying mechanical engineering at the University of Minnesota in the fall, should school open up. I mean, who knows in this time what's going to happen, but how do you, I can't imagine insurance is going to act swiftly enough for you guys to be able to make an income. So how does someone in this position move forward? How are you guys planning to move forward right now?
Uh, as you know, like I was growing up, we every year we rebuild, and Bangladesh is a climate ground zero for climate change. And every year we are like a rebuild. And we're thinking deeply like this is the climate cause is caused by big corporate people. Same people we are, they're all greedy people. They don't care about people's life. This is what causing this. And we'll rebuild again. That we have a very good, we are very strong. We have a good family here, and important building may be gone, but our community we built that Gandhi Mahal community. They're still there. They're all there, ready for us. I was like overwhelmed by what all the support we received here, and uh, when I found my home, or I can say like from so many ways you can tell, but this is our new home, and I'm so proud to be here as a Bangladeshi American, Bangladeshi Minnesotan. And I always tell this that I found my home here because Bangladesh is climate ground zero for climate change, and Minnesota is climate ground zero for climate action, climate movement. That's why I'm very deeply part of this, make the difference in the world. But yes, so when my daughter was saying about how we handle that, we know, remember, we have experience to handle big disaster. So we process very nice because we don't have a dive-through. We started walk-through process. Then we immediately, since we don't have a buffet lunch for lunchtime, we turn it to a curry in a hurry process. So it was very, people was coming and buying, busy. Even, well, I think, yeah. So this is worked very well. Then we closed during month of Ramadan. That we will be closing 1 month. We all will be fasting, and we so that we started only dinner 4 to 10, takeout and delivery. We were doing pretty good on this because of support, and people was buying gift card before all that stuff. So we had we felt very good about it. Then we also like every year we used to do iftar block party. Iftar is we only fast break party together. Iftar break the bread together.
Mm.
This year with MNIPN organization, virtual iftar block party, and we did call for prayer and stuff, and we supply close to over 120 meals to different family.
Wow.
And virtually, like we're zooming, talking to you, same way we break iftar together. These were just before all this, thing happened. So these are very strongly connected, and I believe like my daughter take a lead, and all the daughters take a lead and make the change. We have to keep a better future for them. We don't want to be traumatized. And my little daughter, all the daughters in the world, and especially our brothers and sisters,
You guys are my heroes. Like, I am so impressed and so grateful for people like you to be the light in these, difficult times. And I want to let everybody know that there is a GoFundMe that we're going to add into the summary of this show that will help you guys in the meantime with your restaurant and hopefully with your education, Hafsa. So if you want to support Hafsa and Ruhel, you can find their GoFundMe page on within the summary of this show. You can click the link and donate whatever you can. You guys are definitely paving the way and leading the way for all of us to see what's important in life. And it's not about reacting, it's responding and thinking about humanity. And so I am so grateful for what you guys have shown us. And what is that you're showing me in the background?
My little daughter, this is the only piece I found survived. And which one is survived? Look, how to build community. How to build community, this is survive. And this is when you say what are you going to come, this is the village we're going to build on the 27th Avenue. Maybe you will see goat and chicken running around, completely fully fed community. I don't know, but city should do it because they did not protect us. They did not, but it's about time to build a different kind of community.
Yep.
I want to bring my flavor village. My village name is Bahar Modan, which is called Flavor Village. The Flavor Village to here. And pleasing your palate.
I love it. It's a beautiful message, and you guys are beautiful people. So I encourage everyone to make a donation and to help them, because you guys are incredible. Thank you so much for joining us. And look, my show is called Better Together, and you completely embody that message. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us here.
Of course. I hope to come visit the restaurant someday.
Yes, yes. We'll be visiting. Maybe you have to go get your chicken eggs. We'll make an omelet for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Oh, man, they're amazing. Jeff Graham.
Yes.
Are you still there?
I am still here, and Titus is ready to go.
All right. Well, let's get Titus in. Of course, he is a WWE star, and I'm sure you all know him from that. He's on the Raw roster. He's held many titles, the WWE Tag Team Champion, 24/7 Champion, but he's really a passionate philanthropist. He's helping students and athletes across the Tampa Bay area. He is also a nominee for the Muhammad Ali Humanitarian Award, and he's just one of the nicest people I've ever come across. Titus O'Neill, hello, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Sorry, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty.
Is the camera running wild? What's happening?
Yeah, it is. It's going crazy. Kind of like this world is.
I mean, we lost Titus.
Hold on.
Ah.
I waited all day to have this interview, and now it wants to do this. It's been perfectly fine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can see you.
All right. Am I crooked?
You're perfect.
All right. Sorry.
Little crooked.
Do not worry. He's all right. Is it okay, Steven?
Much better now.
Better?
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
All right.
My friend, you're in Tampa?
I am.
How goes it in Tampa?
It was going okay, and then Saturday we had obviously some stuff go awry over in the East Tampa area. Just crazy turn of events, because I just sat down with the police chief, Brian Dugan, and our sheriff, Chad Chronister, along with Dave Batista, in a very open and candid conversation about law enforcement in the community and police brutality. And I asked them some very poignant questions that I think a lot of people in the community, not just here in Tampa, but all over the country, wanted to know, in regards to training and implicit bias training and things like that. Things that I think a lot of times we don't want to bring up until situations go like the way that they went with George Floyd. But it's not just about the police brutality. It's about the justice system and how to try to keep and prevent Black and brown people from being in a position where they, when seemingly, it's almost like once we're thrown into that system, there is no second chances. It's kind of like once you're in that system, it's a revolving door. And granted, there are some people out there that do very have very criminalistic behavior, but there are people right now that are serving multiple year sentences for selling marijuana or possession of marijuana, and now we can buy marijuana legally in several states. I think people that don't understand what's going on right now really haven't learned American history like they think they have. This country for years has not been very very kind to Black and brown people. If you take it back prior to Martin Luther King, prior to this incident now, we didn't ask to be put on slave ships and brought over in masses and then dumped over because the boat was too heavy, and having our families separated from us. We never asked for lynchings, public lynchings, to be for looking at a white woman wrong, or whistling at a white woman, or fighting or hiring a lawyer, to get back land that was taken from us, that we purchased, or hiring a lawyer to fight a case for us to keep our small businesses open. We never asked to be humiliated in public. We never asked to have to use a separate restroom. We never asked to have to go to a different restaurant, even though, we win gold medal for the United States of America, only to come home to the same racism that we left to. Many Black and brown people, men and women, have lost their lives, their careers, etc., for speaking out about it. But I've never seen any person that's a white person speak out about something and lose their livelihood because of it. There's no apparent, proper way to protest. When we raised a fist, we were being disruptive. When we sat on curbs, we were being disruptive. When we sat at lunch counters, we were being disruptive. When we wanted to sit in the front of the bus instead of the back of the bus, we were being disruptive. When we took a knee, that was politicized, and we were being disruptive. I don't agree with every aspect of what Colin Kaepernick did when he took a knee, simply because when he had on the socks with the pigs on them, that loses the message in regards to what you're trying to do. If you're trying to bring awareness to police brutality, then do that. When you're calling somebody a name in the process, or you're being demeaning or disrespectful in the process of you trying to put out a positive message or bring positive awareness to something, then you're going to lose a lot of people. But even with the kneeling, had he not wore the socks, they made it about the military. They made it about the flag. It was never about either one of those things. It was about what we all witnessed as a country and as a world. Last week, another Black man being murdered by police officers, and had it not been videoed, who knows? Because again, just a few months ago in February, a young man was jogging in South Georgia and hunted down and murdered in broad daylight, and there were no charges brought against these two individuals, and nobody heard of this case until May. That is the type of injustice, that is the type of racism, that is the type of bigotry that has gone on within the justice system and within law enforcement for years. And all law enforcement officers are not bad. Just like if one professional athlete goes out and does something stupid, that does not make all athletes, that same, you don't classify people in the same group. If a teacher goes out and does something inappropriate, it should not take away from all the great work that teachers do year in and year out. If one announcer or TV reporter, you go out and you make a mistake, that shouldn't, categorize every single person in your field. But here we are again in 2020, having the same conversation that we had in 2019, 2018, 2017. And I don't, as I said the other day, this is, people want to, I don't agree with a lot of stuff that Donald Trump has done, but I will not put the responsibility of what's going on in this country and the racism that's going on in this country on Donald Trump. This happened when Barack Obama was president. This happened when George Bush was president. This happened prior to all those guys. Every single American president that has served this country, this has been an issue. And so I do not condone the looting and the violence that goes along with it, but I am 100% on the same page with everyone that is angry, upset, disappointed, disgusted with these type of behaviors, because you cannot tell me this is the greatest country in the world and we have shit like this going on. And it's been going on for years. You cannot tell me this is the greatest country in the world when we have the highest number of incarcerated men and women in our prison system in the world. You cannot tell me this is the greatest country in the world when people have gone out and fought for this country and laid their lives on the line for this country, yet they come home and you can walk down any street across America and you will find a homeless vet. You cannot tell me that this is the greatest country in the world when our public education system is seemingly eroding every single day, and teachers who should be valued as the highest asset and the greatest asset that our society can provide because of the responsibility they have to shape young men and women's lives to help this world be a better place, are the lowest paid people in the world. I could go on and on as to why this is not the greatest country in the world. This country is the greatest country with the greatest amount of opportunity. People do not come to this country because that we're so great. They come to this country because they want to start a business that they wouldn't be able to start in their country. They want to be able to get an education that they would not be able to get had they been in another place. They want to be able to raise their family in a home that they would not be able to do in another country. And so in order for this country to continue this bravado of being the greatest country in the world, they need to start accepting the fact that there are some issues and they're deep-rooted and they all do stem on race. And if it's not race, it's bigotry or misogyny. And, if it was the greatest country in the world, why are we in 2020 still dealing with these race issues? But not only that, why in 2020 are we still talking about women's equality rights? Why are we trying to get women to be paid on the same level as their white male counterparts or their male counterparts? If we're the greatest country in the world that truly believes that everybody is equal and should be treated equal, and everybody is born with the same gray anatomy, then damn it, at some point it needs to reflect that. You can't keep telling me I'm valuable, I'm valuable, I'm valuable, and everybody, is because you've politicized every single protest. Black Lives Matter, I am a black man at 43 years old. I still don't use the Black Lives Matter moniker, because why at 43 years old of living on this earth with two sons that are phenomenal, honorable students and honorable people, all the lives I've helped change, all the millions of dollars that I've helped raise, all the generational poverty I've helped, change. Why at 43 years old do I have to tell people that I matter? Why do people that look like me have to say that I matter? And then that gets politicized and changed to Blue Lives Matter, and then all lives matter. Again, you take a protest and you make it about something else that has nothing to do with the issue. The issue is that black and brown people, men and women, and children have been demonized. They have been categorized as thugs. A group of white individuals stormed the Capitol with AR-15s. Nobody dies because they wanted to get a fucking haircut or because they wanted to go to the beaches. We seemingly do the same thing, and tear gas is dispersed. Rubber bullets are dispersed. And I'm not saying that every single protester out there is, out there for the right reasons, because they're not. And for all of you that are out there, regardless of what color you are, you need to really take a look at. I really hope karma comes back and bites you in the ass too, because those businesses that you're destroying in these neighborhoods, some people took 25, 35, 40 years to get into the position where they can actually give back to those respective communities that you're burning down and that you're tearing up. And every single argument that you make about they don't care about us, how can anybody care about you when you don't even show that you care about yourself? Because you're willing to tear down your own neighborhood time in and time out because you're mad. Well, if you're that fucking mad, get out and go vote, number one. Get out and be more productive in regards to teaching your kids and our kids how to be better human beings. Teach them the right way. Teach them from the mistakes that you've made. And white people need to do the same thing. Don't every time you see somebody get arrested and be manhandled, well, he should have. What did he do, or what did she do, or they should have complied. Well, when the shit happens to you, then it's all a whole different story. And so. People, say that I'm brave for sitting down and having these conversations. No, I've been having these conversations for years for those that want to hear them. The problem is that nobody wants to sit down and have them. It's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But you know what is uncomfortable? Else is uncomfortable? These football games y'all go to when it's a fucking 1,000 degrees outside or it's raining and slow. But if you pay $150 or $200 to go see Tom Brady play football, or your New York Giants or your New York, Jets or whoever play football, I guarantee you'll sit out in that weather. You'll sit in that cramped seat. You'll get beer spilled on you. You'll do all kinds of other stuff because you're invested. If we're all walking down the sidewalk and there's some dog poop on the ground and everybody's just kind of walking past the poop, and then you're that person that ends up texting on your phone, and all of a sudden you make a mistake and you step in it. Now you go and you get grass, you can wipe it in the grass, you can put it, you can run it with water. No matter what, you go into your next meetings, something smells. And it's you. And nobody else knows it's you but you. You're invested. You're invested in that shit that everybody else walked around. So that's what we need. We need more people invested in the issues. We need more people invested in treating people the right way. We need more people invested in treating, and moving the needle and moving America truly to what we quote unquote write in our Constitution, and it's frustrating. Like I said, I sat in my car the other day and I just came to tears. The night before I didn't sleep at all. I'm sitting. My oldest son is getting ready to turn 16 years old. I'm excited as hell about giving him a car. I never grew up with a father. My mom was raped at 11, had me at 12, born and raised in poverty, etc. Now, one of the proudest moments as a dad that I get to try to have now, also online on every other website, trying to find dashboard cams. So another lesson that I have to teach my kids. On top of, if you get pulled over by the police, make sure you put your hands on the steering wheel. No sudden movements. Yes, sir. Talk softly. No, roll your windows down. Turn your engine. All this stuff. No white person that I know has ever had to have the talk.
Nope.
Yeah, have the talk over and over and over again. I have to explain stuff that I cannot, at this point in 2020, I don't have any answers to. I don't know why this type of stuff happens. But I do know at the end of the day that every single person that invests in coming to a conclusion of how to change it, first and foremost, finding out. Go and ask your law enforcement agencies what type of implicit bias training they have. And you don't have to be racist to categorize someone. It's stereotypical. Everything is. We do it in entertainment all the time. Singing, dancing, etc. Blah blah blah. You make fun of certain races. It's always done. It's always. And my thing is, Maria, people say we have come so far. Honestly, really, aside from being able to go to the same schools, eat in the same restaurants, live in the same neighborhoods, buy the same type of car, go to the same parks, how far have we truly come as a country when we're dealing with the same stuff that we've been dealing with for years now?
I will say I posted yesterday my Black Lives Matters moniker, and I was received with so much hatred, so much anger. And just like you said, it's all lives matter. Someone even wrote Greek lives matter. I was just like, I couldn't even believe it. And this one woman, I looked at her, she was like, I'm unfollowing you and whatever. I looked at her and she said she was a Christ follower. And I said, if you're a follower of Christ, then you must have empathy in your heart for people who can't even get in a car and not be afraid that they could get pulled over and shot and killed for doing nothing. Right? And that's what...
Or be in the house.
Or what?
Or be in the house and the door get kicked in.
Yeah. And so...
And they went in the wrong house.
This is awful. And we feel it and we have felt it. And there have been rallies and we've tried to a degree, but it's kind of like, we get numb. The school shootings, right? We get numb. They keep happening. The kids at Sandy Hook, we thought that was going to be changed. It never happened. The same thing here. We keep seeing these things happen. And I want to say a couple of things. One, you do have the sweetest children I've ever met in my life. I freaking love them. They are the cutest. They give me the biggest, warmest love hugs ever. You've raised two of the greatest people. And it breaks my heart to hear that you feel like you have to install a dashboard cam. But if I was you, I would too. And the other thing that I overwhelmingly felt as I watched the news the last couple of days, and I feel like I'm back to the early days of coronavirus where I just felt lost and helpless and just so incredibly sad and scared and, just at a loss. And I feel like that all over again with this. I kept thinking, who is going to lead in this moment, right? there's no Dr. Martin Luther King. There's no one really leading so that people can channel their anger and their frustration and be led properly. And then after I was thinking that, I started seeing it on the news. And so I want to know who you think that is. And I also just want to say one other thing is, I know you were saying you were bringing up all of the points that we need to address and we need to fix. But I do think that we still live in the greatest country. I love our country. We have a lot to fix. We have a lot to do. But I don't know. Do you have another country that you would call the greatest?
No, I don't. I love America too. And, but to say that we're the greatest country, you know, we're the country with the greatest amount of opportunity. If we truly want to be able to say that over and over again, like, we have to bring up the bar of education. We got to bring up the bar
I
of
agree.
how you treat one another.
Yep.
We got, you know, the only time that we truly come together as a country is in times of tragedy. Hurricane hit, you know, shooting happens in such and such. Everybody floods your timeline. These corporations that were giving money and finding money to give to people during the COVID crisis, I've fed families, I've fed frontline workers. I do that stuff year round though. So this is nothing new to me. But it's so these resources that all of a sudden can come out of the sky, you know, because schools can't be open. Now all of a sudden we can find money to buy electronic devices to send home with every kid. Like, where was that money at prior to? Where's somebody fighting to get that funding prior to? And that's one of the reasons why I'm not very big on politics. I will go vote, but I'll never tell anybody who to go vote for.
Yeah.
Simply because that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to vote and to do exactly what I'm doing, the work. That's all I want to do. And I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. It does not matter. If you believe in people should be treated fairly, if you fill out your census, if you feel like schools deserve resources, fill out your census and go and be actively involved in your kid's school. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be one of the more active ones in the room. And that's where we need to move towards now. It's like people saying, you know, how can I help? How can I help? First, you can start by speaking up, because I know you know a lot of people that have this backward thinking.
Yep.
Or it's not even a case of someone being racist. They don't understand.
Yep.
But they don't want to have this uncomfortable conversation to come to an understanding.
Exactly. Well, that's what Kareem said. He was like, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I thought that was really smart.
But people do that every single when sports were in, people do that every single night that a game is going on. They get uncomfortable. I mean, they get comfortable to get uncomfortable. They go and they put, some of them got a whole routine. They put their jersey on, and they got their favorite. I'm sorry. Can you see me?
Yep.
They jersey on. They got their eye paint and their hats and everything else. They getting comfortable because they going to root on their favorite team or their favorite player. And then they get to the arena, whether it's inside or outside, they might be sitting in the very top, cramped in with somebody else because it's a sold-out game, or they might be sitting in 98-degree weather, and it's raining or it's snowing or whatever. That's very uncomfortable. But they make themselves available and they make themselves comfortable. Why? Because they're invested. They paid for that ticket. They got that outfit on. They drove to the stadium or Uber to the stadium. They sat in the line. They waited in the line to get in the game or whatever it may be. They got their kids. They got their families. They got their boys. They need to do the same thing. The same energy you have to get ready to go to your favorite sporting event or concert, you need to start having this same energy, getting ready to have these conversations and say, you know what? Yes, enough is enough. And it goes, take the onus on yourself. Like, if people say, well, I don't have the platform you have. So what? You don't need a platform I have. My life has been touched by a 7-year-old kid, 6-year-old kid fighting cancer. You know, my life has been changed by a 98-year-old woman that beat breast cancer 4 or 5 times. You're never too young and you're never too old. And at the end of the day, coronavirus didn't care what color you were. Yep. It was there. And you dealt with it.
Yeah.
So I don't care what color you are. I don't think any black and brown person cares what color you are. We just want to try to get some answers and try to get some forward movement for once. And hopefully, you know, see, here's my biggest fear, Maria, and I think it should be the biggest fear of every American, that the justice system, once again, comes up short. Because we're going through all this stuff right now, this protesting, this looting, this and that, then everything will die down. You know, you say, where the leaders at? The leaders get everybody calm. Hey, we start talking, having meaningful conversations. Everything's forgotten about.
Yep.
6 months later,
Yep.
got to go to trial. So now you're going through trial. Now all of a sudden, everything's starting to pick back up. People are starting to wait and wait and wait. And man, oh man, if that verdict reflects the same verdicts that have happened time and time again,
Yep.
if they think some shit got tore up now, boy, wait until that happens.
So what do you think, Titus, about the fact that they haven't arrested the other three? To me, I kept telling my husband, I'm like, Kevin, why have they not arrested the other three? That is such a show of, I mean, just the optics of that would make so much sense.
Me and you, and that's why I have an issue too. If me and you and your husband decided to go and rob a bank, right? Me and you went and robbed a bank. I was standing outside, looking out, making sure that nobody was coming in. Your husband was in the car. You went in the bank. You're on camera robbing the bank. Plain as day. You come out. The police have come. Me, you, and your husband jump in the car. You robbed the bank, though. You're the one that went inside. Guess who's going to jail?
Everybody.
All three of us.
Yep.
Going to jail. Because we witnessed that we were an accessory to bank robbery.
Yep.
Those three men or three officers that sat there, they were an accessory to murder.
Yep.
And so they should be having charges brought up on them just like they would be brought up on me and you.
Don't you think that would calm a little bit? Like, I don't understand.
I don't think it'll calm. I think it would a little bit. But the fact that, you know what? A black man was jogging a few months ago in February. He got gunned down in the neighborhood. Without public outcry, those two men would still be walking free.
Yep.
So my thing is, me and you went and robbed the bank. Me, you, and your husband went and robbed the bank. As soon as they catch us, all three of us are going to jail.
Yep.
Right? Now, let's add into robbing the bank. On the way out, you shot somebody and killed them.
Yep.
Now, that's a whole nother... we all going to jail. My punishment and your husband's punishment may not be as severe as yours because you took it another level and killed somebody. But we're still going to jail on that first charge.
Yeah. Yep.
So am I wrong for thinking that the police that take an oath should be held at the same standard or higher than those that don't?
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to protect and serve.
And protect, yep.
And it's the minute you stop doing that is the minute you're going against the oath, which is the minute you start breaking the law, regardless of what you don't do or don't do. Yeah. If somebody calls 911 and your police car comes up to a house that has a domestic violence issue going on, and you as a police officer see this person getting beaten, and rather than hurry up and go and stop and de-escalate the situation, you decide, I need to take another turn around, or I need to just kind of wait till this thing dies down. Meanwhile, this person is beaten to death. You were just an accessory to murder.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not on video camera, you can say whatever you want to say because you're an officer of the law. And you're always right in the minds of many.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the justice system.
So, Titus, here's where we're at. It's been a week since George Floyd was murdered. Mm-hmm. We've seen peaceful protests turn into just looting and, you know, at the worst.
Some might I add were bussed in from other places.
Oh,
and
I mean, we were watching the local news and we had a really astute reporter, I think it was on KABC, who was actually realizing and recognizing the same faces moving place to place and looting. It was like a group. And so there's no doubt in my mind that there's a difference. Okay. But how do we move forward in protecting the message and doing the work that needs to be done while these people are taking advantage? It almost feels like, and I don't know what the solution is, but it almost feels like if everyone stopped so that the people who are doing the bad could be caught and stopped and then regroup, it would be the only way to stop this, but I don't know.
I almost said the same thing. Like, to me, you know, you brought up a perfect point. The other 3 officers have not been charged yet. So clearly, it's not important to the Department of Justice to swiftly move on them like they moved on the other one.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, okay, they clearly don't care right now. Let's just go back, plot, strategize, mobilize, and figure out a different way to deal with this moving forward. But in the meantime, don't put ourselves in harm's way. Don't put our police, law enforcement officers in harm's way, because nothing good is going to come out of us gathering right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's almost like COVID-19 never existed with the amount of people that are out there right now.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a whole other issue. Like we have, our medical professionals, our frontline medical professionals are going to be in such harm's way after just having to deal with all of this. And then economically, all of these businesses, these small businesses that barely were hanging on by a thread are now decimated, and they're continuing. So just before the show, I was thinking, I'm like, maybe that's the only way.
Yeah, here's the other part of that situation. And this is how I look at it here in Tampa, because I do a lot of work in this area. And I redid process of rebuilding a school, redid a school similar to what LeBron James did in the East Tampa area. That area is prime real estate. And it's, you know, I've seen what's happened in Seminole Heights. I've seen what's happened in West Tampa, even out in Riverview, or like all different parts throughout the Tampa Bay area. East Tampa is an area in which millions have been poured into to help these families become more self-sufficient. So if anybody knows anything about American history, they pour a whole bunch of money into a neighborhood to prove that it can't be salvaged. Then they tear that neighborhood down, or slowly but surely. It's called gentrification. White people call it redevelopment. I call it gentrification, because that's exactly what it is. So all these buildings that they tore down, these small businesses that were barely hanging on, guess what? You did them a favor, because now the insurance money is going to bail them out, and they don't have to come back if they don't want to. But then that mom and pop Italian shop, or that mom and pop, clothing store, or that pharmacy that you just burnt down, is going to be replaced with a CBD clinic, or a high rise, or some apartments. Because over in the East Tampa area for here, that's prime real estate. It's right next to USF. For years, they've been trying to clean that place up.
Yeah.
So now you're just helping them. You blew up the gas station. You're tearing up the University Mall, which that mall was getting ready to get shut down anyway. So you're just helping the process. And so where are these people that are living in these neighborhoods now on government assistance, barely making it by? What's going to happen? They're going to take you and they're going to put you, just like they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, not just here, all across the country. Put you in another place, make this deal look like a deal of a lifetime. And next thing you realize, you're driving 45 minutes to work when you used to be able to drive 10 minutes to work. So now you're spending more money on gas. You already were barely making ends meet. So the money you were making, now all of a sudden is going to another source for another need. In the midst of all this, looting and violence, guess what else gets shut down? Public transportation. So coming out of a pandemic, with COVID-19 where a lot of people lost their jobs or they were furloughed. Now we're starting to open things up so people can go back to work, but some of those people didn't have adequate transportation. And guess what? They can't go to work to a job that they just got back to going. So people don't think like that because we live in a very selfish society on all sides. But when people start thinking, the only time sometimes people start thinking and rationalizing and being, cognizant of what's going on is when it affects their money.
Yeah.
So if those people that were out there looting, most of them, they don't care about going to jail because they're going to get a place to stay. They're going to, you know what I mean? Like,
And they're out the next day anyway, just to go back to doing it.
Yeah. But let somebody say, hey, if I catch you out there, your ass is going to be homeless because I'm going to take everything from you.
There were a lot of Black leaders I've been seeing who are like, I was out there trying to stop them. How does this message get out? Like, is that the answer, Titus? Is it everyone rallying together and saying we have to suspend for a minute because of the people that are taking advantage?
Well, you got to put stuff in place, things like curfews, which we did. We just did that last night. Our mayor, Jane Castor, implemented a curfew for the city of Tampa. Luckily, our county officials did not do it for the entire county, but we did do it in the city of Tampa because I think that's where the most imminent threat was for most of our buildings and things like that. But you got to treat it almost like you treated COVID. After 5 p.m. you can't be out.
Yeah.
Essential workers only. It's sad, but it's true. And at this point right now, like, what has actually been protested that has been successful?
In this movement right now?
In this movement,
I'll tell you, the only thing I saw that George Floyd would have died in vain. Mm-hmm. That cop was not getting arrested if protests didn't start. My opinion.
Right. Well, I agree. But how does that change the system? Because George Floyd was just one of many. Yeah.
Well, I will say I also heard Governor Cuomo talking. Governor Cuomo talking about how they are changing the system in New York, where the attorney general will be handling the cases rather than the system that's set up where people who are friends are working together, and that's why it doesn't work. And forgive me for not knowing all of the actual wordings here, but it does seem like, you've seen police officers protesting with protesters. You've seen them kneeing. You've seen them hugging people. You've seen the show of love from all sides, which is a beginning. And then the few leaders we have are actually trying to pave the way for change. Unfortunately,
the difficult part in that, though, is, and I applaud all those guys, women and men that are, doing that. Some of that is because of their own political agenda or personal agenda that they have. The other part is, I know the dangers. I know I know at the end of the day, like, me being out there will only help a few.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be ignorance everywhere. It's just like racism. I don't think all white people, I know for a fact all white people are not racist. I know Black people that are racist. So it's not about race to me, or who can be racist and who can't. It's truly about, like, okay, you have told us that we're all equal, yet the justice system has shown us completely different. So you're attacking law enforcement, but law enforcement is not the biggest issue. It's the justice system. Because if the justice system came and said, you know what, all law enforcement agencies, if this ever happens again, automatic death sentence. That's a Supreme Court. That's justice. That's people at the highest level. If they were to say that, I guarantee you all these police killings would dwindle. But at the same token, now you're in a iffy situation of police being able to do their job and not be able to do their job.
Yeah.
I'm talking about negligence. The negligent ones, they the ones that definitely need to get at least, at minimum, the life sentence in prison.
Yeah.
Because you have affected somebody else's life and their family's life for years to come.
Something went wrong.
George family.
Press the microphone button for 5 seconds.
All right.
I was like, wow, what's happening?
George Floyd's family will never know, what could have been with him in the world. But they do know what isn't. And that's what the country needs to understand, is that George Floyd is one of many. Emmett Till, years ago, a white woman, Amy, whatever her name is, up in New York, used the police to weaponize, and she knew it when she was caught, when she was in Central Park, guys out there bird watching. And she said, I'll call the police right now. And then she calls the police, and she has an influx in her voice and acts as if, and the dog, she's strangling the dog, but it looks like it sounds, if I'm on the other line with dispatch and I hear somebody say a black man is threatening me and my dog and this and that, and I'm hearing, you ordered a hit on this guy's life.
Yeah.
That's no different than Emmett Till, which later on came out that she admitted that was a lie. Family was broken, generational, issue. And then you wonder why people are upset or hurt. Because there was a time when in American history, you clearly showed black and brown people, you guys ain't worth a shit. You ain't worth a shit so much, I'm gonna sell you for $2 in public. I'm gonna herd you together. Oh, you just had that baby? No problem. We'll take that baby from you, 25 cents. Now go out there and work in the field. And then she's crying, trying to hold on to her baby, and then you whoop her with a whip, or you sick a dog on her. Those images are fresh in a lot of black and brown people's minds, because those images don't change, the years do.
Yeah.
Go back and look at Rodney King beating, and then look at what happened in the 90s, the 2000s, and now here it is in 2020, and you tell me what the difference is.
Yeah. It's very upsetting. I was telling Eboni, who was on earlier, I spent the weekend just so down and so hurt. And I just don't know, where do we go from here, Titus? What do we do?
I tell you where we go from here. You take that hurt that you feel, and you call as many of your friends as possible, and you say we need to start using our voices and our platforms to get people mobilized, to get people understanding that we're going to have these difficult conversations. I'm going to use my medium, you're going to use your medium. We're going to call these folks in, these leaders, etc., and have a conversation. And then once we have this conversation, we're going to actually go out and put it to action, because that's the problem. We have these protests, and then everything dies down, and then it's forgotten about. Yeah. Then we have another protest. So if people want to ask me, what can I do? I would tell you honestly, you need to go and talk to the people in the gay, lesbian, and gay community, because it's not one time that I saw them do a protest and this shit happened. Yet they fought for the right to get married, have a family. They stuck to they stuck to their goal. And as much as people tried to badger them and beat them and cuss them and whatever, they stayed on the issue and the mission.
Yeah.
So if our mission and our issue is to help people get treated fairly, to change a justice system that hasn't been very just for a lot of people, then that's the issue we need to stick to. Doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what background you come from. It truly matters about, okay, you know, because Selma, Alabama. Have you ever seen the movie Selma?
Of course.
All right, so that movie is based on the second time that they tried to go across that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first time they tried to go across that bridge, it was murder. It was an assassination like you would never see in your entire life. So Martin Luther King was smart enough to get other leaders together and call their friends in San Francisco, Boston, New York, etc., where racism wasn't understood and wasn't prevalent. And they called all their media partners. So the next time that they came down to walk across the bridge for Selma, and then on national TV, they saw how people in the South would beat and hurt and treat people of their race the same as they were treating other people of the opposite race for years. Somebody said, no, that can't help it. That can't help it. That's wrong. And now all of a sudden you got an entire world, country, that eyes are on Alabama, then their eyes are on Mississippi, then their eyes are on Georgia, their eyes are on, you know, all Tennessee and all these other places, right? But only because they saw someone that looked like them get beaten and dragged and assaulted with mace and water hoses and everything else, that something was done. So I pray that we don't have to have that type of, you know, outrage in order for people to care enough to say, you know, right, enough is enough. And if you're saying it in your living room, okay, that's fine. You're saying it to your kids, but let's say it out loud. I want these corporations out here, these companies, to, you know, not just put out statements, but start putting practices. You can't clean up the world outside of you if you ain't willing to clean up your own house. If you're a company or a business that lacks diversity and lacks leadership, lacks diversity in a leadership position, then you might want to take a look at yourself. And if you're a company that has, you know, X amount of employees and you're the CEO, you might want to find out that you and the managers and everybody else, I want to know, like me, I redid this school. I know every janitor's name. I know every teacher's name. I know just about every family's name. I don't know all the students' names because they circle in and out. But the people that are responsible for helping me get, you know, these school grades up and to change the culture of the school, I know every single one of them. I treat them well. If one eats, they all eat. If I get new shoes for one teacher, they all get new shoes, etc. The list goes on and on. Companies need to take that motto, because I hear people always talk about team. You know, this is our team, this is our family. Well, some of y'all treat y'all family members like shit. And they just so happen to look like me. Or they just so happen to look like you. Because females look down upon too, and they, you know, they got the jokes about them too, and this and that, and that's all females. But I say this time and time again, the only person that has truly not had to suffer the way that everybody else has had to suffer in this country is the white man. And people don't want to hear that. The white people don't want to hear that. But that's the truth. Not one time has a white man been isolated and told, you can't eat here, or your race isn't welcome here.
Nope.
Not one time. Not one time have I ever seen a white man or a group of white people and their children being lashed with a whip or sprayed with a fire hose or attacked by dogs. Never in the history. You can't, but you can find movie after movie, documentary after documentary of those that are in the black and brown community that illustrate that. And if that's a movie showing you that, you know it was worse.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Great point. Titus, I can't thank you enough for coming and joining me today and talking and sharing so much and helping us to get better. I have my tagline on the show is, when you know better, you get better. And I think we definitely...
Well, I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, because it's already doom and gloom enough in the world. But I do want to say this. I want to say in my 43 years of living, and especially over my last 11 years with WWE, I've traveled around the world twice, 2 or 3 times. And I've met some phenomenal people from all different backgrounds. When I go in hospitals to visit kids, they don't say, "Oh, there's that black guy." When I'm meeting with some kids and doing a Be a Star rally, they don't say, "Oh, there's that black guy. Oh, that's Titus O'Neil." You know, when you go and do interviews, oh, there goes Maria. When you come backstage with us, there goes Maria. You're a part of the family. We treat everybody, the same. Unless you've been on a sports team, you really don't know what it means to be on a team. And I get the chance to share the locker room with so many different people from so many different walks of life. And from the Oscars to the Drew McIntyres to the Sasha Banks, Natalia's, people from Canada, South Africa, all over the world. Oscar is so entertaining to me. Always has been, always would have. One of the sweetest human beings you ever meet in your life. Drew McIntyre, I'm so proud of him, from where he came from in all aspects. I couldn't understand a damn thing Drew used to say when he talked. Now, he clearly, been working with people and able to articulate things, and you can understand what he's saying, but more importantly, the type of man he is. A guy like Jinder Mahal, who was also in 3MB at one point, to be able to be a hero for his country. Kofi Kingston, to be a hero for people back in Ghana. I get a chance to work with some of the coolest people in the world, and race has never been a topic that none of us have really kind of touched on. But I think this situation is, when I'm getting text messages from all different types of superstars on the roster, thanking me for living out loud, not just now, but period. It gives me the energy to say, or the extra shot in the arm to say, you know what, no matter how pissed off I am, no matter how upset I am, there's somebody out there watching and they're inspired by it. And I would tell every one of your listeners the same thing. No matter how upset you are, no matter how hurt you are about the situation, like there's somebody that's watching to see how you respond. I had that meeting this weekend with Dave Bautista and our sheriff and our police chief because, one, all 3 of those men are friends of mine, but 2, I have 2 sons, a 13 and a 15-year-old son, that are sitting here waiting to see what Dad's going to do. Dad's a superhero. He does all this other amazing stuff. What is Dad going to do now? And I'm sure that some of your kids are sitting in that same position where they want to know, what is Mom going to do? What is Dad going to do? And do the same thing you did when COVID-19 came about. You made adjustments and you fought at full force and you brought people together and you cooked meals and you made baskets and you did all this stuff for the frontline workers. You did all this stuff for your neighbor, etc. You guys learned how to cook. You guys learned how to do different stuff, DIY projects. So let's try to learn how to treat people better. Let's try to learn how to understand people better. Let's try to bring people together instead of dividing them with political agendas or media propaganda. Let's bring people together because we're all human beings. Everybody that knows me knows I can give a shit if you're a Democrat or Republican. I can care if you're black, white, purple, green, it don't matter to me. You show respect to your common fellow man and we'll always be cool. Those that are bullies, those that are full of crap, those that are constantly trying to bring others down, anybody that knows me knows I don't have patience for that at all. And if I got to lose something for it, then so be it. But I know I'll get whatever I lost back because I was doing the right thing for the right reasons. Everybody that's out there doing the right thing for the right reasons, if it's protesting and you're doing it for the right reason, get out there and be safe, and bring people together and then go the fuck home. Once you see things going a certain direction, just get out of there because you realize at that moment the reason why you're out there is not the same reason why somebody else is out there. So get out of harm's way. Don't be a part of that what's going on because again, we need to stay on message, stay on the issues, stay on whatever it is, and don't let nobody take that focus, of you wanting to make a positive and better change and taint it. Don't let anybody take that energy and that drive that you have to make other people better and you become a better person in the process. Don't let nobody take that from you. Don't let nobody rob you and your family of building a legacy of saying, you know what, in 2020, this happened and I was able to galvanize and get X amount of people together. I used my platform. I brought on this person. I brought on that person. I tweeted, I posted, I yelled out loud. I had spaghetti dinners in the neighborhood and invited other people over so we can have these conversations. I reached out to my local law enforcement agency to try to get some hamburgers and hot dogs and just go to the park and say, everybody come out, let's show people how to have a good time. That's what we need to be doing as a country, because it doesn't matter what color you are. At the end of the day, if your life was on the line and it came down to a black doctor saving your life, I guarantee you wouldn't be turning that away.
I did have a black doctor save my life, actually.
Huh? Say what again?
I did have a black doctor save my life, actually.
Yeah. So, our kids can be the greatest inspirations and the greatest examples of how to be resilient. Because us adults, we think we got everything figured out. But go and watch a kid that knows he'll never be able to play basketball because he's fighting a disease. You'll never be able to tell that kid he can't play basketball until his life is gone. Because he's going to hold on to that and he's going to find a way. Give me a wheelchair, I'll play. Give me some crutches, I'll play.
Yep.
Kids are resilient. Our country needs to become more resilient. We've been asking African-American and black and brown people to be resilient and forgetful and all these things for years. Now it's time for America to turn around and show some empathy. Now it's time for America to turn around and say, you know what, that was jacked up.
Yep.
And it was so jacked up to the point, you know what, it'll never happen again, not on my watch.
Yep.
If everybody takes that responsibility and accountability for making sure that it doesn't happen, then we'll start making progress. And again, it starts with, what's the issue? The issue is not the police. It's not law enforcement. It's keeping bad cops out, because 10 cops don't make 1,000 cops bad people.
Exactly. You said something really important that I want to end on, and it's about not being divided. I was speaking to my friend yesterday, and he's like, they're trying to divide us, and we need to stay united. And that was a big thing for me, and it made so much sense. And I think that is something to carry in throughout the day, is we do need to stay united because we all have the same goal. It's about humanity. What?
Stay on mission. The minute that you take that message or that mission and you say, oh, they're a Democrat, I don't know if I can fight this battle with them. Oh, they're Republican, I don't think I can fight this battle with them. The minute you start diverting and looking at differences and thinking that you can't move forward with those people, that's when the message gets split.
Yep.
That's when the progress stops.
And everyone goes the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say you want to be united, guess what? Hey, there's some big motherfuckers down there. We're going to have to punch them in the mouth. All right, let's go. It's just like getting in the WWE ring. Rey Mysterio versus The Big Show. Hey, we got battle to do. We got a show to put on. No matter how small Rey is, no matter how big Big Show is. At the end of the day, we want those people to go home happy. Mm-hmm. That's our goal every single night. Put smiles on people's faces. So I feel like the whole world at this point right now should take that moniker and take that motto and put it to life. Outside of the WWE, put smiles on people's faces. Be better together.
We are better together, Titus. I love you. I thank you. And I can't wait to see you and give you a big hug next time.
Love you too.
And
thank you.
What?
Thank you for having me on. Sorry if I cussed a little bit too much.
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? I love cussing. It's something my dad gets very upset with me about, but But I don't even remember one cuss word. But I'm so grateful,
I
and
know how I am about what's going on right now and how I've been for years about this type of stuff and other things. But, to see the looting and the violence, that just completely takes everybody off mission and off task, because instead of talking about a man that lost his life at the hands of law enforcement, we're talking about people stealing TVs. And, I saw a video. It's funny, but it's sad. Somebody stole a police horse. It was running down the road.
you're kidding. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'll text you the video.
Oh my God.
It's so hard to
Wow.
not laugh because it's just that ignorant, but it is what it is, man.
Wow. Please text me that video. I do need to see that. Of course, you can see Titus on WWE Raw, which next time you come on, hopefully we'll be under better circumstances and we can talk about a lot of fun things that I want to get to at some point with you. You have a great book, There's No Such Thing as a Bad Kid. It can be found on Amazon. And he is a finalist for the 2020 Muhammad Ali Humanitarian of the Year Award, which I'm pulling for you, of course, as always.
Yeah, you see my background. This is in one area of my house, but Muhammad Ali is one of my favorite, not just athletes, but people of all time. And when you talk about those that protest things, when we talk about silent protests and things like that, Muhammad Ali said, I just want a gold medal, and you guys want me to go fight a war that none of these people ain't did nothing to me, and I can't come home. I just want a gold medal for the United States of America, and I can't eat in my favorite one of the hottest places to eat in Louisville, Kentucky. No, I'm not going to fight no war against those people. And he lost 3 years of his career because he said, no, I will not do it. Now he's one of the most celebrated people of all time.
Yep.
People always want to quote Martin Luther King quotes and not realizing that, Martin Luther King had a grimy side too, because enough became enough for him too. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why he got assassinated is because he kept, hey, Martin, you got to calm him down. You got to calm him down. All right, I'm going to calm him down, but y'all need to do this, 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 and this. And once those things, it wasn't a equal balance, then all of a sudden, you know what? Hey, it's not my responsibility anymore. It's your responsibility to fix this shit. And when that happened, now all of a sudden, there's an issue. And therefore, every great leader that we've ever had in the Black and brown community has been either assassinated or their careers have been assassinated and they've been ostracized. And that's women too, So anytime a minority steps up and says, all right, enough is enough, it becomes a threat. But what is a threat? Because I want to be treated equally, because I want people that look like me to be treated equally and to get an opportunity, and I want our schools and our neighborhoods to be built up at the same rate that everybody else's neighborhoods and schools are being built up. Somebody has a problem. It ain't Black America.
Well, hopefully we get to see the change that we want to see. Titus, thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Love you.
Thank you. All righty.
Big kiss.
Bye-bye.
All right. You can find Titus on Instagram, social media, everywhere at Titus O'Neil WWE. And that does it for us today. That was the officially longest episode we've ever done, I think. Right, guys?
You know what? If there's ever a day to do a long episode, I think today's the day.
This is the day. Have no plans for tomorrow. Don't know what we're going to do yet. But
we actually, we're going to talk about it. We
haven't talked about it yet. So
yeah.
We're going to talk about
yes.
it, and we're going to figure it out. But we'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. In the meantime, be safe. If you're out there protest in peace. And we will see you guys back here tomorrow. Thank you again for listening and for being with us. Be nice people, make good choices, and be present.